This is the HPT.
Sit right down, put on your poker face, you with the big dogs now. Better bring your best game, talk trash all you want. To me it's all the same, you won't leave with much when you come in second place. And I'm the one with the stack showing 7 to the jack. Gon' cry to your mama cause I'm sending you back. I'll be the last man standing with the money in my hand. I'll be the last man standing with the money in my hand. Last man standing with the money in my hand. I'll be the last man standing with the money in my hand.
Hello everyone and welcome to the HPT. I'm James Larson, joined by Maria Ho, and this week we are in Lincoln, California at the Thunder Valley Casino Resort. Tonight is the conclusion of our episode from Lincoln, and we're going to find out who our new champion is going to be.
Last week we saw a few quick eliminations and some big hands being played. The chips are being tossed around like hotcakes here, but this is it. Somebody will walk away as our newest HPT champion by the time this episode is over. Nobody's running away with it yet, so whoever can run well and play even better has a good shot to come out on top.
And Maria, we have a couple of superstars in the making at this table, and I can honestly say that any of these gentlemen could win this tournament, and I wouldn't be surprised.
And these 4 players should be pretty happy with what they are guaranteed to take home today. 4th place is going to go home with $46,377, but up top, $165,130 plus that prestigious title of being crowned the newest HPT champion. James, have you ever won this kind of money at the tables?
Well, Maria, I was really close once. I was at my buddy's house and I had ace queen. So I looked down at ace queen and it's a bad
Okay,
beat.
James, let's save that story for another episode. Let's take a look at their chip counts. And the person looking in pretty good position to take down that top prize, Joe Chrisman, who started this final table as our chip leader. 4-handed now, he has a big chip lead, 8 million and change. JD looking to catch him has 2.7 million. Earl Mencken has just under 2 million. And Chino DeLeg has 1.5 million.
Lines are 30,000, 60,000 with a 10K ante. Maria mentioned it up top, just over 165,000. What does that feel like, Maria, to hit a 6-figure score?
You know, I still remember so vividly my first 6-figure score, 2007 World Series of Poker main event, 38th place, went to cash that check at the bank, and I still couldn't believe it. I just kept staring for a few minutes.
Unbelievable. Well, one of these players is going to go home with just over 165,000. But again, the min cash just under 47,000. So really, it's going to be a good day for all of these players.
Earl here raises to 125,000 with ace-9.
And now over to Joe, who's been running so well at this final table. If you remember last week's episode, this time he wakes up with pocket kings, and he's going to 3-bet to 300,000 chips.
The run good seems to be never ending for Joe here. Folded back to Earl, who, you know, given him and Joe's dynamic, he's not going to fold even with just a hand like ace-9. He calls 175,000 more.
Earl's a poker player from the Sacramento area. This is his 4th HPT event and first final table.
Flop is 9-5-3 rainbow, so Earl's caught a piece in its top pair, so this flop could cost Earl more chips.
Speaking of Joe, he's got plenty of HPT experience, and he has final tabled. Back in 2012 at our Reno event, Joe placed 3rd at the final table, this time trying to do a little better and take it down and be our newest champion.
Joe bets 260,000. Earl happily calls. He's looking down at top pair, top kicker. The turn is the 6 of spades. So Joe's overpair is still in the lead, and I'm sure he could comfortably bet this turn card, but he doesn't.
Joe's going to go ahead and check it over to Earl. We've noticed on last week's show and already tonight, Earl likes to gamble a little bit.
And you know, Earl feels pretty comfortable that he has the best hand now. He's just value betting in his mind. He bets 225,000, and Joe's just going to check call, I'm sure.
No, Joe is going to go ahead and raise. So it's a check raise by Joe. He's going to go to 675,000.
75,000 by the one seat. 675.
Well, I didn't see that coming. I thought Joe was maybe pot controlling here, but it looks like he believes that he still has the best hand. And so this would be a big laydown by Earl, and he does get away from this hand, and it is the correct laydown. So good play by Earl here.
Earl's played a lot of poker over the years right here at this card room at Thunder Valley Casino and Resort. He's got a lot of friends on the rail that have joined him today, and he's hoping to be our new champion. With reads like that, that will help. Life is good for that guy in the one seat, Joe Chrisman, as he's trying to win his first ever HPT title right here at Thunder Valley Casino and Resort. Well, Maria, we're now left with our final four, and one of these four will be our new HPT champion and go home with just over $165,000. So please don't go too far. We'll be right back after these messages. You're watching the HPT. Welcome back to the HPT. James Larson, Maria Ho, right outside of Sacramento, California, here at the Thunder Valley Casino and Resort. Only 4 players remain. Maria, it's your final 4.
Well, it's really the Joe show so far. He's got 9.2 million, 64% of the chips in play. It's almost like these people are just scrambling to even have half of his stack. JD has 2.8 million, Earl has 1.3 million, Chino has 885,000, which makes him our short stack with 15 big blinds.
Now you talk about Joe in the one seat. If you're just joining us, Joe's playing great poker, but let's be honest, the deck is hitting him right in the face.
And like I said, when you've got skill and luck, it's practically an unbeatable combination. Just another big hand, 4-handed for Joe. He has ace jack.
He's going to raise to 150,000 chips.
Chino here in the small blind. He's going to get out of the way.
And now Earl in the big blind looks down at King Queen.
Earl and Joe are pretty used to being involved in heads-up pots with each other, and he goes all in. I'm sure Joe is going to call him. Earl's got 23 big blinds with King Queen. I don't mind that shove, especially against someone who's been opening quite frequently.
And Earl's had a little bit of bad luck here at this final table as of late, but he's hoping to turn it around right now with his King Queen going up against Joe's ace jack. He realizes right now he's behind, but it's not over yet.
Basically a 60-40 here in Joe's favor.
Your next elimination will go home with 46,377, but Earl's not thinking that. He's still got his sights on that top prize and this HPT championship.
Flop is 10-9 for a couple of clubs. So some possibilities for Earl here. He has a gut shot, straight draw, backdoor flush draw, 2 overs. Joe's still in the lead with ace high.
We go to the turn card. It's the Jack of Spades.
And that's it. The hand's going to be over here. Joe is going to be drawing dead as Earl hits his gut shot.
Does Earl look a little excited to you, Maria?
I can't tell. He's really good at playing down his emotions.
6 of clubs on the river, but all that matters is that turn card right there, the Jack of Spades. And boy, Earl is one happy camper. Big double up for him. And I think the entire rail is here to cheer on Earl. Such a cooler for Joe. Everything's been going good for him. He was in the lead up until the turn. He paired his jack, but as we saw, makes a straight for Earl Mencken. And that's not a guy you want to give a whole lot of chips to. He can be scary, kind of a bully sometimes at these tables.
Well, that definitely won't be the last pot these two get involved in. Action is folded around to the button of Chino, who is our short stack here.
What's up? My name is Chino. I'm from San Francisco. I am a full-time student, currently working on my bachelor's degree. I'm about 8 classes away. I'm also a part-time poker player. I plan on taking this tournament down because I feel like I'm the best player at this table.
And he goes all in with 14 big blinds.
Over to Earl now. Big double up for him recently through the hands of the one seat of Joe.
He looks down at King Jack, and I think he is going to call this all in by Chino here.
And that is a call.
He makes the call. Now action over to JD.
Has been made. Action now. That's just a call, right? Now the action is on JD.
JD looks at 7, so he might want to get involved too. I think the only problem sometimes with these hands is, you're going to call 14 big blinds of your stack, but do you isolate? Do you shove all in over the top?
All right, that's a full.
Not to mention a $20,000 difference between 4th place and 3rd place.
JD decides he's not sure where he's at. He doesn't know what to do with it, so he is just going to fold instead. So it's going to be Earl with King Jack here versus Chino's 10-9. Chino's life at risk here.
Okay. Good luck to you. 10-9. 10-9. 10-9. 10-9. 10-9. 10-9. 10-9. 10-9. 10-9. 10-9. 10-9. 10-9. 10-9. 10-9. 10-9. 10-9. 10-9. 10-9. 10-9. 10-9. 10-9. 10-9. 10-9. 10-9. 10-9. 10-9. 10-9. 10-9. 10-9. 10-9. 10-9. 10-9. 10-9. 10-9. 10-9. 10-9. 10-9. 10-9. 10-9. 10-9. 10-9. 10-9. 10-9. 10-9. 10-9. 10-9. 10-9. 10-9. 10-9. 10-9. 10-9. 10-9. 10-9. 10-9. 10-9. 10-9. 10-9. 10-9. 10-9. 10-9. 10-9. 10-9. 10-9. 10-9. 10-9. 10-9. 10-9. 10-9. 10-9. 10-9. 10-9. 10-9
The players shake hands before we go to the flop here at the Thunder Valley Casino and Resort. King Jack versus the 10-9, and the flop is King 4 Tray Rainbow.
Chino's now left with just runner-runner possibilities. Things are looking pretty bleak for him.
And all of a sudden, Earl catching a run of cards here. Life is good for him. Turn card, Ace of Hearts, and that's going to do it, Maria.
The river card is the meaningless queen, and Chino is going to take home $46,377 here today for his 4th place finish. Well, the remaining players have one less player to worry about, but we still got a long way to go before we can crown our next HPT champion. Come back for more. Welcome back to the HPT. This final table has been non-stop action so far. We've got a lot of good players left. Let's get back down to the felts. And Joe Kreisman is in the chip lead still, 8.2 million. Earl and JD fighting to be the one to go heads up with Joe is what it's looking like right now. 3.4 million of Earl to JD's 2.8 million.
Is there a strategy, Maria, a three-handed strategy you can talk about?
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point it's very short-handed. You definitely have to widen your range. I don't think I need to tell Joe and Earl that. I think you need to step up, be aggressive, and also remembering that there is a big pay jump to be had between 3rd and 2nd place. So sometimes you don't really want to get involved in a big pot unnecessarily with the chip leader.
Lines of 30,000, 60,000 with a 10K ante.
Action is on Earl on the button here with Ace-10 offsuit.
And Earl's going to go ahead and make the call. Over now to JD. JD looks down at 7-6, suited in hearts. That's kind of a fun little hand to play three-handed.
He's going to defend from the small blind and now to Joe's big blind.
Joe looks down at 7-4.
Joe's looking to check his option, I'm sure, and he does. All 3 players involved in this hand, a family pot.
And the flop is Queen 10-9, couple of hearts.
So JD here has flopped a flush draw. Earl has middle pair with top kicker and the ace of hearts.
JD and Joe check now over to Earl. Earl rarely misses a street to make a bet. And Earl's going to go ahead and bet 105,000 chips.
And I think JD should just call with his flush draw. I don't think that there's a lot of value in raising on a draw here because he doesn't have a very good flush draw. And I think if Earl bets that flop, there's a lot of hands that Earl's not going to fold to a raise.
In the back of JD's mind, he's always got his emergency straight draw too with the gut shot.
But you know that semi-bluff is going to work on Earl here. And JD is going to take down another pot.
I got to ask Marie, do you think JD can beat these 2 players and be our newest HPT champion?
I think if JD continues to mix it up as we've seen him do these past few hands, then yeah, I definitely think he has a shot.
3 great poker players battling it out here at the Thunder Valley Casino and Resort. 165,000 and change up top. Right now, your mint cash just under 67,000. Action to that guy in the 1 seat and Joe.
Joe raises from the button to 135,000 with 8-7 offsuit.
Earl's got a lot of friends behind him in the audience. He's been tweeting all day, just having fun at this final table. And Maria, that's what poker is all about. It's a game. Let's have some fun.
JD calls from the big blind with Ace-7.
Hey guys, we got to keep it down a little during
Ace-7 going up against 8-7.
please.
And the flop is 5-4 tray, couple of clubs.
Both players have a gut shot straight draw.
JD's going to check over to Joe.
But if a 6 comes, Joe would actually have an 8 high straight.
Joe's going to bet 125,000 chips.
JD is probably going to call here. He also has ace high, 2 overs.
I've been a competitor most of my life. Played football, Washington State University. I've got a Parks and Rec degree. Play a lot of games in my life. So I'm looking forward to this. I hope it comes early for me. And I'd definitely like to take the title, and the money would be okay too.
And JD does make the call. JD trying to add to his $100,000 of lifetime earnings. And if he wins this thing, he's going to take home $165,000. Turn card now is the 5 of spades.
Both players check. Oh, when did JD lose the swizzle stick? 7 hours later. And the river is the deuce of diamonds, and JD has made his wheel.
And he's going to go ahead and bet 500,000 chips. Action over to Joe. And he's going to fold, so the winner of the hand is JD, keeping his hopes alive to be our newest HPT champion.
Pots in a row goes JD's way, and he's gaining some momentum too.
Momentum's such an important part of the final table, especially when we're down to 3 players. Time to step aside from tonight's final table to bring you a segment of A Poker Life with Doyle Brunson.
You know, nowadays, James, we feel really safe. We're playing casino environments, and a lot of poker has been taken out of the back alleys and the back rooms, but not in Doyle's day. Doyle talks to us this week about how he had to stay safe around that Texas circuit.
It was always there, and it was always possible. I can remember a guy from Tennessee named James Roy. He said that wherever there's a lot of money involved, say anything can happen. He traveled on the circuit, and he was really an excellent player. Goody, we called him. And so he told us about all these different places, and that the hot spot for the hijackers was someplace in Alabama and someplace in Oklahoma. And they all came out of those towns. And they knew where all the poker games were, and they robbed them a lot. And so naturally everybody tried to prevent it. We played in one place in Oklahoma where they had a machine gun sitting up on top of the roof. And you get out of your car and they say, "Who is it?" You know, Doyle, Sailor, and Slim. Okay, go on in. But that kept the hijackers away. I mean, they had a 50 caliber machine gun, and all the places, usually had a guard with a shotgun or something. I mean, and so they usually come in under some kind of, like a policeman. They would dress up as policemen like they were raiding the place, and they would turn out to be hijackers and come in, steal your money. And they usually didn't hurt anybody. I did see one guy get shot and killed. A guy blew this guy's head off with a shotgun. I mean, it was uncalled for, and nobody could understand it. And then later came to light that it was over some girl that they both, this hijacker and this poker player, had some issues over, and that's what it was over. And nobody usually resisted when, once they had the guns on you, you just said, "Okay, take it."
Listening to Doyle talk there, I don't think I would have fared very well back there because I'm not very tough. So everything that went on back in the day, thankfully now casinos and your home games are a little better policed, and you don't have to worry about getting robbed and things like that. But special thanks to Texas Dolly Doyle Brunson for his segment. When we come back, we're going to conclude tonight's final table, coming to you from Lincoln, California, right here at the Thunder Valley Casino Resort. Welcome back to the HPT. It's James Larson and the brains of the operation, Maria Ho. We're at the Thunder Valley Casino Resort here in Lincoln, California. If you're watching this and you want to play on the HPT and possibly make it to this nationally televised final table, well, check out our website at hptpoker.com. Find an event that will work for you, and who knows, maybe her and I will be talking about you. Let's head back to the table.
Joe Chrisman is the one to catch right now. $7.8 million is his stack. JD and Earl are pretty close in chips, $3.5 million to $3 million.
Min cash right now, just under $67,000. For second place, $101,888. But the big one up top, just over $165,000. And you can call yourself an HPT champion. Blinds are going up, Maria, 40,000, 80,000 with a 10K ante. We're coming to you from the Thunder Valley Casino and Resort right outside of Sacramento, California. Action will start with JD. He's going to fold. Now to the small blind in the one seat, our chip leader. And Joel looks down at Queen Jack of Diamonds. He's going to raise to 210,000. Now over to Earl in the big blind. Looks down at 9-7 of hearts.
Earl makes the call. So these two are going to do battle again, blind versus blind here.
Queen Jack going up against 9-7. One suited in diamonds, the other suited in hearts. It's Jack, 6 tray, 2 hearts come on the flop.
So Joe has top pair now, but Earl's got a flush draw.
Got a feeling we'll see some chips getting in the middle on this hand. We start with Joe. He's going to go ahead and make a bet of 180,000 chips. And Earl's got to like this flop, Maria.
Yeah, I think Earl's just going to call here, though.
Call has been made.
Earl does just that, makes the call, 180,000 chips. It's been a great week of poker action out here at Thunder Valley. Turn card now is the Tray of Spades.
I think we're going to see another bet by Joe and another call by Earl here.
Joe's going to check.
I think sometimes Joe likes to try to give Earl either a little bit of rope, or maybe he's afraid that Earl might have had bottom pair and called him on the flop and now has trips. Either way, let's see if Earl wants to take a free card.
Free card not part of Earl's vocabulary. He's going to go ahead and bet here 160,000 chips over to Joe.
We've seen Joe check raise Earl before with the best hand, but this time he's a little bit on defense mode. He calls the 160,000.
Hi, my name is Joe. I'm from Pacifica, California. This is my second HPT tournament. My first one was 3rd place, and I'm trying to get first. I'm a professional poker player and a stay-at-home dad.
And the river card, Maria, is the 5 of hearts. So good news for Earl. He makes his flush.
So now Earl is going to go for a value bet. I wouldn't suggest a big bet size based on that board if Earl wants to get paid off. I think maybe around 40% is good.
A pot size right now over 1.1 million chips. Joe checks action on Earl, and he's going to bet 475,000.
So Earl does bet around that size, and I think Joe is going to have to call here.
And Joe's going to do that. He's going to make the call. Earl's going to flip over his hand, and Joe's going to realize, I just got rivered. The winner of the hand, Earl Mencken, stacking more chips to his stack. Of course, everybody wants to be our newest HPT champion. Who doesn't want to be an HPT champion? But tonight, so much money on the line, just over 165,000. That'd be a fun check to take to the bank.
So JD's going to start the action here. He looks down at King 10 on the button.
JD looks like he's having fun tonight. Why wouldn't you be? Your min cash right now, just under 67,000. He makes the call. To the small blind we go now in the 1 seat of Joe. Joe's really played great poker all week long, especially at this final table. A few missteps here and there, but he's been playing some great cards. And Joe from the 1 seat in the small blind looks down at ace 10. He's going to raise to 265,000.
Earl folds and JD calls 185,000 more. Joe's got JD dominated here, and the flop is King Jack 5. So JD actually has outflopped Joe here, pairing his king, but Joe has a gut shot straight draw.
And action will start with Joe, and he's reaching for chips. Joe's going to go ahead and bet 255,000 chips. Action over to JD. He's going to raise to 510,000. And Joe makes the call.
Calls made. Did you guys get that in the back? Thank you. All right. Call has been made. Let's go ahead and see turn.
Turn is the king of clubs, giving JD trips now.
Joe's going to slow down. He checks over to JD. JD loves this turn of events. It's a matter of how much he's going to bet now.
1 million.
And he's going to make a wager.
He bets $1 million in chips. I think Joe is not going to continue with this hand against this bet size.
And Joe is going to fold. The winner of the hand is JD, the retired school teacher who's into this event for $300. When we come back, we'll find out which one of these three is going to be our new HPT champion. Don't go too far. More exciting final table action coming to you from the Thunder Valley Casino and Resort.
Thanks for joining us here on the HPT. We've got a great final table, and first place prize is just over $165,000. Let's see which one of these players is going to take home that cash. Joe's lost a couple of pots and also the chip lead for pretty much the first time all final table, JD is now our new chip leader. He has 5.3 million. Joe has just under 4.8 million now, and Earl has 4.2 million. So a very, very tight race between these three.
Wow, did you just say JD is our chip leader? How did this happen? This guy came out of nowhere, and now he's leading this final table.
Ever since he took that swizzle stick out of his mouth, I tell ya, that has made all the difference.
A lot of money on the line tonight at this final table. Just over $165,000 for first, but the min cash is $66,754. And right in the middle, $101,888 for second place.
Joe calls 40,000 with 7-5 of diamonds, and Earl looks down at King 10.
We talked about this before. Earl's got quite a few people in the studio audience cheering him on. He checks his option in the big blind, and the flop comes Jack 4 Trey, couple of diamonds.
Joe has a straight draw flush draw here, and Earl just has King High, so both players gonna check this.
Turn card now is the 7 of clubs.
Joe's just loving his hand now. He's got middle pair and a gut shot straight flush draw.
He's going to go ahead and bet $105,000 now over to Earl. Earl's going to make the call. River card is another 7, this time the 7 of spades.
So Joe now has trips, and he's going to go for value here, obviously. And, you know, actually, if Earl thought his King High was good on the turn, this pairing of the board might think it's still good on the river. He might actually just pay this bet off.
Joe's going to bet 205,000 chips, and Earl's going to quickly make the call, and he's going to quickly realize he's not going to win this hand. Joe is the winner. Trying to improve from his third place finish in Reno. He wants to win this thing. Not only the cash, but everybody wants to be an HPT champion.
Three-handed play has gone on for some time now, and I think that's an indication of how well these players are playing. You know, none of them are in a rush to try to get this over with. They want to play good, smart poker.
Blinds are 40,000, 80,000 with a 10K ante. Action will start with Joe with Queen Jack. I'm really impressed with Joe's play this week. He's made so many good decisions. This time he's going to raise to $175,000 with his Queen Jack over to the small blind and Earl. Earl's got to like that hand playing three-handed.
Yeah, Jack 10 suited always looks pretty to me. He's going to call the extra $135,000 from the small blind, and now it's going to be up to JD in the big blind. Not much of a hand there, but he's got a little bit of money already invested, so why not?
JD makes the call with his 6-4. And the flop is Ace 10 Trey, all spades. Over 500,000 chips in the pot. Action starts with Earl. He checks over to JD. JD is our chip leader here at this nationally televised final table. He's going to wager 350,000 chips.
So JD just feels like, I got a 4 high spade in my hand. Why not lead into 2 people? Let's see.
I don't think Joe's going to go anywhere with his straight and flush draw. He makes the call of 350,000. Earl quickly gets out of the way, so we're heads up to the turn.
Turn is the 8 of hearts, so now Joe actually has a double gut shot straight draw, but JD might not want to shut down here.
No, JD's reaching for more chips, and I like this. I like this play here. He's trying to get Joe off his hand. He's going to bet 500,000 chips.
I like the fact that I've really seen JD amp up the aggression since they got three-handed, and I think that is what he needs to combat these 2 other good players.
Joe is going to raise all in, so JD's going to realize he kind of got his hand caught in the cookie jar. He folds his hand, and the winner is the 1 seat and Joe.
Well, what are you going to do when you try to be aggressive, but you run into someone who's just a little more aggressive than you are, and that is indeed what Joe has been doing all final table.
Blinds are 40,000, 80,000 with a 10K ante. And you talked about it before. We've been three-handed for some time now because nobody wants to be the next person eliminated. Huge jump in the prize money from 66,000 to third up to 101,000 for second. And we've been talking about it all night. Your first place winner will go home with just over 165,000. Earl's going to make the call with his Queen Jack.
And JD here in the small blind looks down at Ace Queen of Hearts, and he is going to 3-bet, it looks like. Joe looks down at Ace 4 of Diamonds, and that's a pretty hand.
Joe actually took a couple of years off of poker when he had his daughter. Her name is Avalon. She's 3 years old now.
Just one raise in front of him, so Joe decides to call. Earl also makes the call.
Hey, I'm Earl. I'm from Sacramento, California. I really enjoyed my time here at the HPT, and I'm ready to win this.
And the flop is King Jack 7, couple of hearts.
And that's an interesting check by JD. I mean, you do have somewhat of a big hand. You have a flush draw, straight draw, but at the same time, you don't necessarily need to get it checked around. You could also bet, get some value from your big draw.
Turn card is the 4 of hearts, so JD makes his flush.
Both of his opponents drawing dead now.
JD's going to bet 210,000. Over to Joe. Paired is 4 there on the turn.
Good fold by Joe there.
Earl makes the call of 210,000 chips, a pot size of over 1 million now. River card, the tray of clubs. So the flush is going to be good for JD. What kind of bet would you like him to make here, Maria?
Like 400,000 probably. He bets really small. I mean, that's going to get him paid off, I think. I really think that Earl would have considered paying off more than that, and that's what you have to factor in.
Yeah, Earl's just kind of shaking his head saying, yeah, I'll throw 210,000 in there to win 1.5. But he's going to realize his hand is no good as JD flips over his ace-queen of hearts for the flush. Earl looks a little confused about that whole process there at the end.
I think with how quickly Earl called, I think JD could have bet a little bit more on the end. Either way, JD's been doing well three-handed. We'll come back from this break to crown our next HPT champion. More from the final table here at Thunder Valley when we come back.
Welcome back to the HPT. It's James Larson and Maria Ho. Only 3 players remain. Who's it going to be, Joe, Earl, or JD?
JD is our chip leader right now by a very narrow margin, though. He has 5.7 million to Joe's 5.6 million. Earl here with 3 million, still a healthy stack of 38 big blinds.
It's really been a fun final table to watch. We've seen some great poker, and I expect a very entertaining finish. That man right there on the button first to act as we're three-handed. He looks down at a suited-up king-queen.
He still hasn't stacked his chips from the last pot he won. He's going to throw out a limp of 80,000.
No raise here by JD under the gun with his king-queen. He makes the call, as does Joe with queen-8. And Earl's going to go ahead and raise to 305,000 with 5 tray of diamonds. You don't have to have the best hand to raise, Maria.
You never do.
So JD says, yeah, I'll make that call. Joe's going to fold his hand, so we'll go heads up to the flop. King-queen going up against 5 tray.
Flop is king-9 for rainbow. JD has top pair, but I'm sure Earl didn't raise pre-flop with 5-3 to give up now.
So Earl's going to bet 350,000 over to JD. He's not going anywhere.
I think with the board being so dry, I would just call here if I were JD.
And that's what he's doing. He's going to slow play this a little bit. Turn card now, the ace of clubs.
It's actually a pretty good card for Earl. He could definitely represent that. He also has a gut shot wheel draw.
Earl's going to continue to bet, this time 650,000. We'll see if JD is scared off by that ace of clubs on the turn. And of course, when you're playing three-handed, everything changes strategy-wise.
That's interesting, all in by JD. I don't really know why he's going all in, because he's kind of turning his hand into a bluff that way. But either way, it's good enough to take down the pot because Earl didn't have anything.
And Earl quickly folds, and I like seeing that, Maria, this whole Hollywood idea, holding on to your cards, looking around, and you hemming and hawing. Earl knows he's beat, he gets him in the middle, and we go on to the next hand.
Button on JD here. He's going to let it go.
Over now to the small blind of Joe. Looks down at 10-8 of diamonds. Talked about this before. Joe's second final table, third place in Reno a few years ago. I think that always helps, having a little final table experience, especially a TV table, because it takes a little getting used to these hot lights and the cameras.
So Joe limps in from the small blind, and Earl checks his option with 10-5.
10-8 versus 10-5. And the flop right there in the window, the 10 of spades, it comes out 10-4 tray.
They both have top pair. Joe's kicker is better. He bets 80,000.
And now Earl's going to raise all in.
It's a big raise, just under 1.4 million to call, but Joe's not going to fold here.
Call.
And Joe makes the call. Huge pot, ladies and gentlemen. They flip over their cards. Earl doesn't look real happy.
Earl needs a 5 or running straight cards in order to stay alive.
If not, Earl's going to be eliminated in third place, going home with just under 67,000. Turn card now, the ace of spades. No help to Earl.
The river pairs the 4 or the 3, though. Earl and Joe will chop this pot, otherwise Earl needs a 5.
The river card is the jack of spades, and that is going to do it. Earl will exit us, going out in third place, $66,754. Nothing wrong with that. A nice little payday for him here on the HPT.
And we're down to 2 players. Come back to watch these 2 remaining players battle it out for the HPT title and that prize money.
Welcome back to the HPT. It's James Larson and Maria Ho broadcasting this week from Lincoln, California at the Thunder Valley Casino Resort. We've been playing poker all weekend long. We're finally down to heads up. Mano y mano. One of these players will be our new HPT champion. Let's head right down to the felt.
JD has just a slight chip lead over Joe. JD has about 7.7 million, whereas Joe has 6.6 million. It's anybody's game.
Second place, $101,888. Up top, $165,000 and change. So come on, for these 2 guys, they're playing on national television here in Sacramento. They're each going to go home with a 6-figure payday. Life is pretty good for JD and Joe. Action, and we'll start with JD. He's going to go ahead and raise it up to $400,000 with his tray deuce.
Joe looks down at Jack 10 offsuit. He's going to make the call.
We've really seen JD open his game here at this final table. Once we got down to about 4 players, we saw him really mix things up, and I like it.
And the flop is 10-9-5, 2 hearts. So Joe has flopped top pair here.
And Joe's going to check it over to JD, and JD's going to continuation bet now to the tune of 500,000 chips.
I do like how aggressive I've seen JD get progressively throughout this final table. I think that's what he needs to combat somebody like Joe.
I didn't think JD had that gear in him, but he's proving it to us that he does.
The turn is the king of clubs, so now Joe also has a gut shot straight draw, but JD has got a lot of moxie.
I like this. He checks. JD just continues to put chips out in the middle. This time, 600,000. This could be a very expensive hand for JD.
Yeah, I don't think Joe is going to go anywhere.
When do you give up on the bluff, Maria? You're a professional poker
Never.
player.
I'm just kidding. No, obviously you have to feel out the situation, and each situation is different. But I think that it's very opponent dependent. Some opponents are definitely a lot more stubborn than others, and you should recognize that.
King of diamonds on the river. Joe's going to check again, and look at this. JD is reaching for more chips.
Listen, it takes a lot for someone to fire 3 barrels with 3 high, and JD betting 1.1 million. I don't care if this works or not. Good for you, JD.
The pot is over 4 million chips. And Joe's going to look him up. I don't think JD wants to flip his hand over. He's going to have to, and he's going to realize that hand cost me quite a few chips.
There's a big pot going Joe's way, but you really can't fault JD sometimes. You got to try.
I like how aggressive he was, but let's give credit to Joe for making those calls.
It's been a long time.
Wow, we are seeing some great poker here, Thunder Valley Casino and Resort. Blinds are 50,000, 100,000 with a 10K ante. JD scratching his head a little bit there.
I'll take one too, Benny.
He's thinking maybe I won't do that again, but he's reaching for chips. He's going to go ahead and raise it up to 300,000 with 6-5 of hearts.
Joe looks down at King Queen offsuit.
It's funny, we've seen the momentum just move from player to player to player at this final table, and right now its momentum is all in the favor of Joe.
Joe makes the call, and the flop is Queen 3 deuce. And JD wished this was the last hand. He had 2 pair.
No kidding. Joe's going to check over to JD. He's got a gut shot straight draw. He's going to bet 250,000. Joe's going to make the call. As you can see, he paired his queen.
Ace of hearts.
The turn card now is the ace of hearts, and Joe checks over to JD. JD adding a flush draw now as well, reaching for chips. And he's going to bet 800,000. I feel Joe's really dialed in right now.
I really think Joe has never broke focus at all at this final table, and I think that's really important.
River card misses every draw that JD had. Joe's going to check. Let's see if JD bets again.
And I think Joe knows now that JD's willing to bluff, so he likes to check it over to him. And now Joe knows that JD is capable of bluffing, so I think Joe's kind of checking it over to him just to catch JD in another bluff, and JD goes all in. There is one overcard to Joe's pair of queens, but you know what? I don't think he's going to fold here.
Action on Joe. This would be a great call. He's definitely thinking about it. JD's thinking, what in the hell did I get myself into?
Call.
And he's going to make the call. And JD's going to realize it's a bluff gone wrong. And the winner of the hand and this tournament is that guy right there, Joe Chrisman.
Joe Chrisman came here with a mission, and mission accomplished. He played a great game, and he is now our newest HPT champion. Great job to JD, though. He really put the pressure on late in the game, and he gave everybody a run for their money. James is down there to talk to JD about his great second place finish, taking home $101,888.
Guys, I'm now joined with our second place finisher, JD. Now, JD, I want to say you were kind of the quiet one at the table. It got a little rowdy at times, but you shifted gears, and at one point you were the chip leader, but really it all kind of comes down to the one bluff you had, and you made an awesome call.
That was a heck of a call by him. It was, for a lot of money out there.
Right.
So, hey, it's the way it goes. Joe played great. I played with him for 2 days. He's a great player. He did real well.
Now, speaking of money, you're going home not empty-handed, just under $102,000. What does that mean for you? And it's probably your biggest poker score ever, I'm guessing.
Oh, no question about it. This is, I played in a handful of large tournaments. This is by far the farthest I've gotten. So, no, I'm tickled to death.
Yeah.
Might have got a little impatient there, but a lot of money in that last pot.
Sure.
I didn't think he'd call. It was a heck of a call with one pair of them. Sure. So you got to give it to him. He played well the whole time. Okay. I'm pleased with the way I played. I played very well for a long time. Last half hour or so kind of blew up in my face, but you know, if you don't put your money in, you're not going to win it. So I certainly wasn't going to get blinded down. And Joe looked like he was going to try to wear the old man out. He was lowballing me, and I got a little bit. I said, well, I don't think I want to sit here for 10 hours.
Right. Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
I was hoping to catch a big hand once you got in. But, you know, I had a wonderful time.
Well, JD, congratulations to you.
very
A
much.
nice little payday. He's going out in second place with just under $102,000.
Thanks, James and JD. But the winner tonight is Joe Chrisman, and he is our newest HPT champion. Nobody can say he didn't deserve it, though. He definitely played well, but he also ran pretty well, too. James is also standing by to talk to him.
All right, Joe. I know how bad you wanted this.
I did.
You got to Reno, third place. Now you're a champion. What's going through your mind?
Actually, nothing. I'm just happy.
Now, you started the day as the chip leader. You never really looked back, but you really made a good call here, heads up. You made a good call against JD, and what made you do that?
Well, when the turn came, he lit up. I knew that it helped him in some way, but I wasn't sure if it was the flush draw or it hit the ace. So I called to find out, and then when he overbet the pot, I knew it wasn't. I had a good feeling it wasn't ace, but I wasn't sure if I should take that risk or if I should just keep whittling him down a little bit.
Sure. Wow.
Well, that's how a champion knows how to read poker players. Now, $165,000 plus. I've got to ask, what are your plans for the cash? Because it's a lot.
I don't have any plans for the cash, but I'll take it anyway.
You are the last man standing. You got the cash and the title. But finally, what do you think of the HPT, and are we going to see you more on the road?
You are going to see me more. Yes, I love the tournament. I love the structure. The people are super nice. The people here at Thunder Valley were really nice to me. Anything I asked for, they did it for me with a smile. Yeah, I'm going to come back here over and over again.
Well, now I think people are going to be asking things from you. He's going home as our champion. His name is Joe, $165K plus, and the title.
Maria, I'm a little speechless. Just over $165,000. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, both players got to take home six-figure paydays, But in the end, Joe was the one who won out. He took it wire to wire. He was the chip leader to start this final table, and he ended up with all the chips, and I have to say he deserved it. He played great. But JD also played a good game, and congratulations to him as well.
Now, if you're watching this show and you want to take home $165,000, because I know I do, check out our webpage at hptpoker.com. We've got events all year. We crisscross the entire nation. So pick an event that will work for you, and who knows, maybe you'll be playing for the life-changing cash. That's our show for tonight. For Maria Ho, I'm James Larson, and we'll see you next time on the HPT.